in Statesville.
Well, hello everyone. It is pouring outside of the WSIC Statesville studios. Are you staying dry? Man, I looked at the weather radar for today and I was like, oh, all right, it's not bad. And then all of a sudden, here's the rain. 844 Studio 4, 844-788-3464 is the phone number if you want to chat with me. Anything you have to say about sports, we're going to talk about it for the next hour. Glad to have you along for the drive home on this 5 o'clock hour. Plenty of things going on in the world of sports. Maybe you don't know, but the NBA Finals begin tonight. Yes, the NBA Finals, 8:30 tonight on the networks of ESPN and ABC. I'm excited. I have watched quite a bit more basketball this year than I did last year. And I got to say, the game is a lot different in many ways, but it's still good. I know people have a problem with the way the game's played now with all the threes and that you can't play defense. It is still entertaining because at any point, a team can get hot from three-point range and a 20-point deficit is erased in 3 minutes. That is the reality of today's NBA. It is a game of runs. It is a game of getting hot from the three-point line. And what it should be is a game of hitting your free throws. That's going to be the key. It always is, in my opinion. But free throws are going to loom large. The Boston Celtics outscored their opponents 6.1 points per game on free throws. I don't care about the points per game. What I do care about is your free throw percentage. Make the free throws. That's all you have to do. Also in the world of sports, the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend heads to the Sonoma racetrack. I think everybody is over the Kyle Larson discussion with waivers, even though it's still being promoted on NASCAR's website, and NASCAR really is brought it to the forefront, in my opinion. I still have a lot of questions about how they handled this, but it's not important anymore. The waiver has been granted. Kyle Larson is playoff eligible. Wouldn't it have been something, though, if he would have won the regular season playoff championship and he couldn't race for an actual championship? I think that's why NASCAR made that decision. The right decision for this year. Maybe next year, this decision they made could be the wrong decision. We head out west to California for the second time this year. Out west, that is. There is no race in California at the beginning of the year. It used to be the West Coast Swing would have California Speedway on it as well. Man, I miss that racetrack. I am so sad that they got rid of it. I'm pretty sure, Auto Club it is, by the way. I'm pretty sure they're making it into a short track, but with the way that the next-gen car drives, maybe they should have kept it a 2-mile track and, I don't know, repaved it or something. I'm not going to be happy with everything that NASCAR does. I think I've made that quite clear, but hey. So we're out in Sonoma, California for the Toyota Save Mart 350. The NASCAR Cup Series will be on track at 3:30 on Sunday. You can listen to the race right here on WSIC. Coverage for this one beginning at 2:30. Also, you have the Xfinity Series and the ARCA Menard Series at Sonoma this weekend. Practice and qualifying for the ARCA race is early on Friday, and then they will race at 6:30 Eastern on Friday, 3:30 local time, by the way. There are no lights at Sonoma, in case you were wondering. There is an Xfinity and a NASCAR Cup Series practice It is a 1 hour practice for the Cup Series, which we heard from some drivers. The practice session that they're going to have here is nice for sure. Xfinity and Cup Series qualify on Saturday, and then 8 o'clock on Saturday is the Xfinity race. The Zip Buy Now, Pay Later 250. That's what it's called. The Zip Buy Now, B-U-Y, like buy. Zip Buy Now, Pay Later 250. Okay. That's what it is. And then Sunday you have the Cup Series race. We also have college sports going on. The College World Series for men's and women's Division I baseball and softball going on. In the softball scene, we are at the World Series. Yes, we are at the College World Series final. Oklahoma beating Texas in Game 1 last night, 8-3, to take a 1-0 lead in the series. It is a best-of-3, game number 2, later on tonight, 8 o'clock. Not sure how many people are going to be tuned in to the softball game versus the NBA game. I personally am going to be tuned into the basketball, the NBA Finals, best-of-7 series beginning tonight. We have an off day from sports tomorrow, and then Saturday, the NHL gets underway with the Stanley Cup Final. Reminder, the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Final. I don't know why. I feel like the proper way to say it would be NBA Final and NHL Final, because the final is a thing. I don't know. It's just confusing to me. How about we just call them the championship games or the championship series? Seems like it would be a little bit better. The MLB. I've been getting back up to speed with what's going on in the baseball world, and one thing that I can tell you is the National League is a dumpster fire right now. There are, as of today, June 6th, there are 4 teams in the National League. 4 teams in the National League with a winning record. You heard me correctly. 4 National League teams with a winning record. That means there's 11 of them with a losing record, and actually 10 of them with a losing record. One of them sitting at 500. That would be the Chicago Cubs. How is everybody in the National League having a bad year? Except for the Phillies and the Dodgers, by the way. Phillies, the number 1 team in the National League right now. They're 6 games ahead of the Dodgers and 7.5 games ahead of the Brewers. In the American League, it's the New York Yankees with the best record, followed by the Cleveland Guardians, 3 games back. Baltimore Orioles, 4 games back. And the surprise of the year, in my opinion, the Kansas City Royals, having a great year. They're going to find themselves in the playoffs here this year, as they currently hold the number 2 wild card. We're going to head to our first commercial break here on the Scoreboard on this Thursday. When we return, we're going to dive deep into the world of the NBA as the finals begin tonight. The Celtics, the Mavericks, who you got? Let me know. I'm curious. Phone number 844-788-3464. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Scoreboard. We're back after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, another day of the hot and sticky weather with scattered thunderstorms before a break heading into our Friday and the weekend. We'll see a partly cloudy sky, upper 80s today, and watching for scattered
Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
And we're back. It is now the second segment here on the Scoreboard, 844 Studio 4. You know, I think I made a officially not official prediction this morning on the home ad show for how long the NBA Finals was going to go on for. And I just kind of said something off the top of my head. I don't know if that was my official prediction, but I do believe the Celtics are going to win. Now, it's probably not the best to side with the Celtics in the 2020s, as they have been the favorite many a times and have not been able to get it done. They lost one of the finals a couple of years ago, and they haven't been back since. But their opponent, the Dallas Mavericks, they are what would be the second biggest preseason long shot to win the NBA title in 35 years. That's what they'd be. Nobody thought the Mavericks were going to be here. Yeah, they have a great team, but there's so many other teams in the West that we felt like they were just the better team, and the finals would go a different way. Well, it didn't. Kyrie and Luka turned out to be a great tandem to have on the court together. And those two players are at the forefront of this Mavericks resurgence as they make it back to the NBA Finals. Now, the Mavericks are the underdog. Obviously, those preseason odds are still, they're still long shots. They're still the underdog. But it seems like the betting public believes that they are going to be the winners of this series. 80% of the bets placed at U.S. Sportsbook this week have been on the Mavericks to upset the Celtics. The Celtics, by the way, are only the third Eastern Conference champions to be favored in the finals in the past 24 years. So since the turn of the century, there's only been 3 times that the Eastern Conference champion has been the favorite in the series. And I've talked about it before. 10 years ago or so, it was even worse. The Eastern Conference was an absolute embarrassment to the NBA. The 8 seed would get in like 7 games under 500. And you're like, why are they even allowed to be in the playoffs? They're 7 games under 500. But the number 1 team in the league comes out of the Eastern Conference this year. So I guess it balances itself out in the end. But only the third time in 24 years, the Eastern Conference is the favorite. According to ESPN Bet, the Celtics are minus 225 and the Mavericks are plus 180. Celtics 6.5 point favorites in game 1 coming up tonight, by the way, in case you didn't see it. Mavericks started the season at 25-1 odds. And in January, there were sports books that had them at 50-1 odds. Now, I don't remember. We were not able to bet in North Carolina back in January, but those are pretty good odds. 50-1 for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, they were in a rut in January, and it wasn't looking great, but they pulled themselves out of it. And here they are, game number 1 of the NBA Finals, and they're traveling to Boston. The goal of the playoffs is just don't get eliminated. And that's exactly what Dallas has been able to do. So for the Mavericks, they are the only Dallas team to make it to the finals, as the Dallas Stars in the NHL were knocked out by the Oilers of Edmonton in 6 games. I am officially going to predict the Celtics winning the series. I am going to say the Celtics get it done in... I'm going to stick with my original thought. Celtics in 5. Yeah. It's probably not going to be right. let's be honest. It's probably going to be wrong. Maybe it'll be the Celtics in 7. Maybe it'll be the Mavericks. Nobody's sweeping, but I also don't think this series is going 7 games unless Dallas is winning. If Dallas wins the series, it's going to have to be in 7. They're going to have to somehow win in Boston in a 7th game because I don't see them getting off to a hot start. Now, all could unfold for the Celtics in game 1 here tonight, and they could find themselves in a 1-0 series hole. But they are 6.5-point favorites. They're getting Kristaps Porzingis back, which, I don't think he's going to play all that much. It's really hard to come back from an injury, and your first game back is game 1 of the finals. That's a little tough. But we'll see what happens when we go to 8:30 tonight, the NBA Finals. It's here. It seems like yesterday we were talking about who was going to make the play-in games. Did the Lakers want to play as the 7 seed or the 8 seed or the 9 seed or even the 10 seed? Oh, good times. Good times. We have other stories here out of the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers are making headlines. It is being reported that the Lakers are preparing a massive contract offer to UConn's head basketball coach, Dan Hurley, the back-to-back NCAA national champion coach for UConn. It's, I don't know if this is a strategy play on Dan Hurley's part to get UConn to budge and maybe pay him a little more money, or if there is genuine interest by Hurley. Obviously, the interest is there for the Lakers, and Dan Hurley has said in the past that he would love to one day coach in the NBA, and there are interviews of him from about a year or two ago saying he would like to go to the NBA, saying he would be the best coach in the NBA because nobody coaches like he does in the NBA. And it's hard to argue with him. He's got back-to-back national championships, and I wouldn't blame him for wanting to leave college at this point. We're not going to blame anybody for wanting to leave college athletics. Man, it's a mess. The schools can pay the athletes, NIL, recruiting, there's the transfer window. I mean, come on. It seems like your life is a lot easier if you're in the professional league, the NBA. Although I guess soon we'll call the NCAA a semi-professional league. I don't know. I don't know how it works with the schools paying the players and the amateur status and whatnot. By the way, Bronny James has officially declared that he's going to be in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers take Bronny James to get LeBron James to come back. Because if LeBron doesn't come back to the Lakers, ooh, man, are they going to be in trouble. Anthony Davis is not going to carry that team. Although apparently he is a very significant part of the conversation for the next head coach. So the NBA Finals tonight, Dan Hurley in the news, possibly becoming the next Lakers head coach. In every single stat there is, it seems like the Celtics are the better team. But that's why you play the game, am I right? If we did everything off of paper, there would be no upsets. There'd be no Cinderella stories. There'd be no sport. That's what it comes down to. 844 Studio 4. Let me know, who do you have in the NBA Finals this year? Are you even going to be paying attention to the NBA this year? I've been paying attention a little bit. It's not bad. There's some good players, good storylines there. Great storyline within the finals. Couple of teams facing their former teams. Kyrie, now with the Mavericks, used to be with the Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis, who we just spoke about, one time a Dallas Maverick, now a Boston Celtic. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any bad blood with not only the players, but the fans as well. You know that Boston Garden, TD Garden is going to be rocking tonight. That place is loud, and they will let the other team know if they don't like them. One of the wonderful things that the fans of Boston bring us to the sports world. Yeah, that was hard to say. 844 Studio 4. So I got the Celtics in 5. That's my official prediction. Do I think I'm going to be correct? No. You got a few options here. It could be a 7-game series. I don't see it going that long. It's just so hard. In my opinion, I don't understand why the betting public is going with the Mavericks. Maybe it's just because the numbers are better, the odds are nicer, but I'm having a hard time believing that the Celtics are going to lose this year. It seems like this is the year. If they're going to win a championship in the 2020s with this core, it's got to be this year. Otherwise, it's back to the drawing board, and, man, you're paying a lot of people a lot of money over there. Now, I know there's no salary cap, but do you want to keep paying this much money? Game number 1, NBA Finals, tonight, 8:30, ABC and ESPN. When we come back, we're going to move the conversation to the NASCAR world, start previewing the Sonoma Raceway, see if maybe defending winner Martin Truex Jr. is going to be any kind of a threat this weekend. You're listening to The Scoreboard. We'll be back halfway done on this Thursday. We're here for the next 30 minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
This guy knows his
Joan Doniger, Bloomberg Radio.
Now more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. 844 Studio 4 is the phone number if you have something you want to talk about with me. We got about, just under 30 minutes remaining on today's edition of the Scoreboard. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of excited for Sonoma this weekend. I know I've said it before that the road courses, the car's built for it, but they're kind of boring right now. Sonoma, new pavement, repave, should be interesting. Now, a reminder, Martin Truex Jr. was the winner last year, but the race was run quite different than what it's going to be run this year. Yes, we had stages. Yes, we had points handed out at the end of those stages. No, we did not have cautions at the end of the stage. That was the rule for quite a few of the road course races last year until we got to the playoffs, of course, because we need a caution. There was only one at the Indianapolis road course. So we need those cautions. Got to bunch the field back together. I'd almost rather them just go back to throwing phantom debris cautions, honestly. Maybe not that drastic. Anyway. It's going to be different this year with no changes to the rules. Every race is being run in the same way. So we will have stage breaks with cautions. Yes, they will be actual stage breaks at Sonoma this weekend. I prefer it the other way. I'd prefer the race to just unfold naturally. But, NASCAR, they got to figure out a way to get as much action as they can. Not that there's really much action at Sonoma to begin with. But with the repave, let's go ahead and hear from, let's hear from Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe, here's what Chase Briscoe has to say about his luck at Sonoma and how maybe it'll change now that it's been repaved.
Yeah, and I'm truthfully normally not super excited about repaves, but Sonoma's been by far my worst racetrack, so I'm glad to see something just kind of different, and hopefully that'll give me some type of feel that I've been looking for at Sonoma that I've never been able to quite find. So, yeah, it'll be nice to go out there. And then also just with the hour practice, that's something that I've never been able to do. My first time at Sonoma was Cup during COVID, and we just showed up and raced. And every other time I've went there, it's been 20 minutes of practice and race. So it'll be nice just to be able to somewhat learn the track with an hour practice and hopefully figure some things out.
And that's true for all the races this year. The practice sessions are quite reduced. But with the repave, it's going to be a 1 hour practice session for these drivers. So maybe somebody that you don't expect can find something on this repave and find a way to get it done. I have my eyes on the 24 car of William Byron this weekend. William Byron has won 2 of the last 3 road course races, Watkins Glen and Circuit of the Americas, and he finished second in the other road course race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Roval. He's also the only driver to claim 4 poles on 4 different road courses. I'm picking William Byron this weekend. I think he knows how to drive these next-gen cars at the road course. He is obviously having a wonderful season this year. Multiple wins. He's near the top of the standings, currently sitting 5th. He is only 46 points behind the leader, Denny Hamlin. But another thing, when you look at the standings, man, things are shaking up. Austin Cindric is currently 18th in points. Daniel Suarez is currently 19th in points. But because they have wins, they jump into playoff position, meaning the drivers in 15th and 16th, Chase Briscoe and Joey Logano, are bumped out of the playoffs. Joey Logano is still trying to recover from his early season woes. If you remember, Daytona, DNF, Atlanta, DNF. It was a really bad start for the 22 group, but they seem to have, for the most part, become competitive here. They had a really good showing at Gateway last weekend, looking to continue on that in Sonoma. But the playoff standings, as they sit, there are 2 drivers in the top 16 of the regular season points who are getting booted from the playoff standings because drivers outside the top 16 have won races. Kyle Larson, who has raced 1 less race than everybody else this year, only 21 points behind playoff or regular season point leader Denny Hamlin. Now, you got to remember that the regular season champion, the regular season play or the regular season points matter. They do. The winner, the guy who finishes first after 26 races, gets themselves 15 additional bonus points going into the playoffs. These are playoff points. These carry over through all the first 3 rounds. Obviously, no playoff points. No points really matter. Once we get to Phoenix at the end of the year, highest finisher wins. So I'm looking at William Byron this weekend. I do also think Martin Truex Jr., who has quietly had a very good year. We remember the mishap, the unfortune of what he had happened to him at Richmond this year. Still looking for his first win of the season, but 4th in the standings, 44 points behind Denny Hamlin. So a win and some momentum for this 19 group, man, would it change things. That is for sure. Cup Series at Sonoma, racing Sunday at 3:30 Eastern. Beginning at 2:30, you'll be able to listen to the coverage of the Toyota Save Mart 350 right here on WSIC. And this weekend, the race is brought to you by PRN, the Performance Racing Network. I don't think there is really any more discussion that needs to be had on Kyle Larson and his playoff waiver, but there are still top page stories on NASCAR.com about the waiver. Maybe the number one story should be, what is a waiver? Why do we give out waivers? Why we're going to change the rule at the end of the year for the waiver? They really should change the rule for the charter system, because apparently the charter system is what's ruining NASCAR right now. Apparently. But we'll see what happens once we get to Sonoma. Alex Bowman having a pretty decent year. He's been quiet at the first half of the year. All of his teammates have won a race so far this year, which I'm sure that's weighing heavy on his mind. But he's sitting pretty at 10th right now in the points series. He believes that Sonoma will be a much faster racetrack.
I mean, I think it's like 4 or 5 seconds faster than it was listening to the guys from the tests there. So it's going to be completely different. Obviously, that place was slick, wore tires out, felt lots of fall off, and it's going to be pretty high grip now. So Sonoma with grip is the opposite of anything that I've ever been a part of at Sonoma, for sure.
I got a interesting story here that came across during this, and it has nothing to do with NASCAR. It's completely out of left field. Literally out of left field. But the Athletics, we know their situation moving to Las Vegas. They apparently are requesting to play up to 8 home games at a neutral location after the Vegas ballpark is built. What are they doing over there in Oakland? Well, where are they even playing now? Who cares about the Athletics? What a joke they are for baseball, and an embarrassment. But somehow they are not the worst team in the American League. That belongs to the Chicago White Sox, who haven't been good in forever. I feel like every year it's, all right, this is the year the White Sox are going to be good again. This is the year. Nope. We'll talk a little baseball as well as some baseball and softball in the NCAA. And then we'll wrap things up here on the scoreboard. Final segment coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this.
Nine 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Some Panthers news for you. The Panthers are expected to sign Memphis Showboat wide receiver Dawood Davis. Pending a physical, Davis was also on the Dolphins recently. He was also named to the All-UFL team. That would be the United Football League, in case you were unaware. So a little bit of Panther news for you there. They are still working diligently to undo the disasters that were done during the 2024 campaign. And it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. But we move on. We ride. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. Hello to everybody watching on our video streaming platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the WSIC News app. We say hello to you. I'm waving hi. Hi, everyone. We've been talking about everything going on in the world of sports today. NASCAR going to Sonoma, the NBA Finals kicking off tonight with game number 1. Also going on in the world of sports is some softball and baseball, as the men's College World Series is in the Super Regionals, and the women are in the final series of the game, of the year, I should say. So the NCAA softball championships going on right now. Game number 2 between Texas and Oklahoma later on tonight, as game number 1 went in the way of Oklahoma. So this series should be wrapped up relatively soon. If not tonight, then it will be wrapped up tomorrow, because game 3 is scheduled for Friday at 8 o'clock Eastern. If we need to go there, but if Oklahoma gets the win tonight, they will be your new Women's College World Series champions. In the men's side of things, we're at the Super Regionals. A few schools in our local area still competing. NC State, man, they've had quite a fun year when it comes to sports. Some big football wins, the basketball team making a run, the women's basketball team just absolutely dominating. And now the baseball team finding themselves in the Super Regionals. The women, by the way, for NC State, not really in the picture as far as baseball goes, by the way. So we'll continue to track this, let you know if we have a new Women's College World Series champion tomorrow, because that game is tonight. I will not have my eyes on that. Maybe I'll tune in every now and then. But what's going to be on my radar tonight is the NBA Finals. Game number 1, 8:30 on ABC ESPN networks. I've been kind of reviewing some of the things in Major League Baseball so far this year, see how the teams have been doing, who's standing out to me. The Kansas City Royals are quite the surprise this year. They're having a wonderful year, 37-26, with a plus 72 on their run differential. One team that has surprised me for how poor they've been playing are the Arizona Diamondbacks. The representative from the National League in the World Series last year, 29-33. They're 8.5 games back of the Dodgers and a game and a half back of the NL wild card. When you look at the wild card and you look at the National League, there is a team with a losing record that has the wild card. I can't tell you the last time I saw something like that in baseball 65 games into the year. Is it time to scratch the current format of how many teams get in? Because I thought it was a lot better when it was restricted as to who could make the playoffs in baseball. But we have 3 division winners, 3 wild cards. Everybody's got somebody to play. I don't like it, but I'm sure the MLB does, because drama causes quite a bit of drama. 4 teams currently have a winning record in the National League. The Philadelphia Phillies, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Atlanta Braves. Unfortunately, though, for those Atlanta Braves, Ronald Acuna suffered a season-ending ACL tear. He had surgery on that ACL today to get it repaired. The Chicago Cubs, although they are not above 500, they do sit directly at 500. And then you have the Padres, the final wild card in the NL right now. Half game up on the St. Louis Cardinals. A lot of baseball left to be played. Still about 100 games left for most of these teams. And we're not even halfway into the baseball season. Yes, you heard me correctly. Still over 100 games for most of these teams in the MLB. It's a long baseball season. Now, I don't think it's too long. I actually think that it's better to have more games, bigger sample size, which is what I think kind of contributes to a lot of the discussion of baseball and records and stats and the historical context of the game. There's such a big sample size that you can really draw quite a few conclusions. Baseball is one of those sports where the analytics are really starting to drive things. I mean, just look at the Moneyball team for the Athletics, even though, man, don't look at them now. But still, there's something to be said about the eye test analytics aren't everything. But it's an interesting baseball year. That's pretty much all I'm trying to say. Interesting year for the MLB. The New York Yankees, the number one team in baseball right now, along with the Philadelphia Phillies, as both of those squads have 44 wins, 19 losses on the year. Yankees have the edge in those two teams, mostly because of that run differential. They have a plus 115 on their differential compared to the Phillies plus 104, the only two teams right now with a 100 run differential on the season. Only one team is bad enough to have a negative 100 run differential on the season, and that being the Chicago White Sox. 60 games into the year, and they've only racked up 15 wins so far. I feel like every offseason and every time we go into a new White Sox year, I hear this is the year that their prospects are going to take the leap. This is the year that they're going to be good. And I heard that for a couple of years. I didn't really hear it all that much this year, so maybe it wasn't their year to break out. We're going back to the rebuild. It's never good when you have to rebuild the rebuild. If you have to rebuild the rebuild, you're in trouble. You did something terribly wrong. But it seems like that's where the Chicago White Sox sit right now. No other headlines so far throughout the day. The biggest stories. Actually, I wanted to talk about this out of the NHL. The new Utah team. Remember, we spoke about that at length. The new Utah team moving from Arizona, kind of becoming an expansion team in the process, but they are leaving Arizona, heading to Utah. We have 6 team name finalists for the NHL Utah team. Here they are. I have my 2 favorites. The Utah Blizzard, the Utah Mammoth, the Utah Outlaws, the Utah Venom, the Utah Yeti, and the Utah Hockey Club. My favorite is the Yeti. I just think Utah Yeti sounds great. You could have a great mascot there. The jerseys would be awesome. You could really get some good alternate jerseys and special jerseys on that. Whiteout games. That's the way to go. I do like the Blizzard, but I understand some people thinking that that's a little bit too close to the Avalanche. Understandable. But one thing that I can tell you is I definitely don't want them to be the Utah Hockey Club. That is mostly a European thing and a soccer thing. Now, there's plenty of European ice hockey teams that are called HC, Hockey Club. But that's, like I said, it's more of a European thing than an American thing. Or I guess the NHL is Canadian too. Oh well. On this day in sports history, all of Major League Baseball games are canceled in honor of the D-Day landings in northern France. That was on this day in 1944. And we thank all of our veterans who served during World War II and who were there during D-Day protecting our freedoms. On this day, 1971, Willie Mays hits his record 22nd and his final extra inning home run. That's a stat for you right there. Who's got the most career extra inning home runs? Well, it's Willie Mays. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. Happy to be able to chat with you and get you home on this Thursday. It looks like the sun's starting to peek through here in Statesville. It's going to be sunny Statesville again. I'm going to be here tomorrow. It's Friday. We got a lot to cover. So tune back in. You're not going to want to miss any of the conversation. You've been listening to The Scoreboard. Until tomorrow, have a great night, everybody.